Today we are covering, though, evergreens, and specifically evergreens that bloom. There's two types of evergreens, basically. There's conifers. Conifers have needles. They are basically your pines, your spruce, your firs. If it doesn't have a leaf, but it has a needle, that's generally considered a conifer. The other evergreen is a broadleaf evergreen. That's going to be one that's got like red tip photinia. That's one of the best sellers, top end. Every neighborhood's got them. This is where the new growth grows red, but it's got a leaf on it, and it's evergreen. Here in this elevation, it keeps its foliage. There's two basic types. I thought I would focus on the actual broadleaf evergreens, and many of those will bloom. Some of them are in bloom. Now I brought this particular plant in front of you just because, well, it opened up this week and I thought, I have gardeners here. It's not evergreen, doesn't pertain at all. It's just there to inspire, going, isn't that pretty? It spring's right around the corner. This is a Pixie Z miniature peach. It only gets up about this tall. It's very tiny. It's made for pots and gardens, raised beds. It's not ever going to give any amount of shade. It's just going to be pretty, put on peaches like this big.
Say that name.
Pixie Z miniature peach. And so this one, the beauty with this one is you can cover it very easily if we see frost coming in the spring. So not a heavy harvest. You might get maybe bushel baskets of peaches, and 20, 30 peaches. It's not going to be like a big tree. It just has more volume, but it's respectable. Then I brought this one. Anyone know what this is? Just started showing color this week. This is Forsythia. So in another week, maybe 2 weeks, full bloom. So the buds are just starting to crack and show, but it always puts on its flowers before it leaves out. Not evergreen, obviously. This is deciduous. That is, it loses its leaves in the fall, which is a pretty plant. Then I brought one other lesson for you, just because it's raining today. It doesn't pertain, but this is kind of the bonus round. We'll start early. For myself, I have fertilized everything in the yard, hoping for this kind of rain. You can take advantage of it. So you want to use granular foods here because there's no food in your soil at all. In fact, there's nothing redeeming in your soil. And so plants they'll take more fertilizer, more feeding than other parts of the country because we don't have a topsoil layer. So you'll find you have to put on more regular. And then I would say you need a slow release fertilizer, one that activates a little bit of food over a very long period of time. So for synthetic foods, they'll call it slow release. They'll take a nitrogen-based, basically petroleum product. It's a chemical, and they'll encapsulate it in silicone, so it'll release over a longer period of time, 3 months or so. I would encourage you to use organic fertilizers, much healthier for you, your pets, the birds, and it accomplishes the same thing. It releases over a real slow period of time, so plants have more time to pick it up. This is really, really important for evergreens, all evergreens. You'll walk through your neighborhood right now and you can see who did not fertilize last fall. You can just tell because they're deodar cedars, these beautiful 60-foot trees by 20-foot branches. They're starting to look yellow. They're off-colored. Winter chlorosis is what we call it. But if you don't fertilize, they'll lose their color in the winter. They'll come back, but they should stay rich, dark green. Spruce will lose that blue tint, that color to it. That's the reason you bought it, because it had this great color. Well, if you don't fertilize in the fall, it'll lose some of that. And right down the line, your red tip photinia, we mentioned that one earlier. The new growth is red. It'll turn really yellow, just off-colored. You're going, ooh, that's almost hideous looking. It's all because of nutrients. So if you can take advantage of the rain, do it at least by the end of March. You got 3-4 weeks to fertilize, but I would say get it on right away. Sooner is better than later with foods. This is one I put together 10, 15 years ago. Russ, we've been tweaking it for years, trying to get our plants to respond better. You'll find local plants really do respond to all-purpose food. 744, you folks on How much tether do I have? Kind of kick that out for me. There you go, all-purpose plant food for those of you that are looking online. Then I made another food because the edible thing is back. Fruit trees. I sell as many fruit trees as I do maples and aspens. It's amazing what's coming back. So there's this connection back to the earth. Picking your own, growing your own is a big deal. And so I put together an organic fruit tree and berry food, fruit tree and vegetable food. Because more folks, this backyard garden thing is a big deal. The Victory Garden is back. That's almost an old school term from World War II, but really it's back. People are growing their own foods in the back. So it's gone. I think we grew 40% last year just in edibles. That's vegetables and herbs. So I'm going, okay, we need an all organic food. For those who want to keep it organic, this is an organic food. It's pelletized. Again, it's a recipe that's made for here. One thing that we lack is calcium in our soil. And so with that lack of calcium, what will happen is the end of the fruit where the blossom will start to rot. It's called blossom end rot. That is a classic sign of lack of calcium. So with this one, we call it 644, nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, and then 7. It has 7% calcium added to this formula. So it's going to keep that blossom end rot from happening. Again, it's unique to us, so it works here really well. And then calcium also what brings out the flavor, increases the size, brings out the fragrance of flowers, that kind of stuff. So there's 2 foods we make here. There's only 2 we really sell. We make them both, and they're for here. But the main thing is put them down now. Whatever your fertilizer is, don't use Miracle Grow, whatever you do. I'm sure I'll get a cease and desist before we go any further, but Scott's will probably come after me. But anyway, Miracle Grow, the water soluble, is good through the soil way too fast. And that's a salt-based fertilizer that just builds up in your soil, clogs up the soil. So don't use that particular one. There's other much better ones out there. So come on in, welcome.
You know all those people that were here last week?
Yeah.
They're watching live this week.
You got a record for people watching live. I'm glad you can tune in. Is the rain that scary, folks? And then lastly, one other thing, your weed and grass stoppers. What will happen after this rain gets done? It's been warm enough. Now it's moist. The weeds are going to go. They're just going to pop. The weeds are going to go like from nothing, going I look at my rock lawn. It's so easy care to, it's covered in weeds like this. It'd be just like that. I mean, overnight, foxtail will start coming up. Dandelions will go from cute little things to boom, like this. It's an opportunity to put down your weed and grass stoppers. And so that's this stuff. This is one that kills the seed, not the weed kind of stuff. So you put this down before the weeds come up, you're not going to have to weed. I mean, it gets rid of 99% of all the laborious parts of gardening. That's weeding stuff. So it gets rid of the weeds for you. Those are things that do not pertain to the class, but I think it's apropos, timely to think about those things right now that'll really make your gardening easier, better, more successful. There were a couple questions. Go for it.
Is the weed sucker okay for pets?
It's okay for pets, yeah. So she said, is the weed stopper okay for pets? Yes, what I do, is we've got pets. We've got a backyard, half-acre kind of stuff. And where the pets are, I'll make sure I'll put it down in the rain. So I'm one of those crazy neighbors that are out there in the rain doing stuff. That's me. Because I want it to get in the soil with the rain, or if I'm not expecting rain, I'll actually put the hose onto it, just activate it, get it on the ground. So, and just while we're on it, we sell 2 types of weed and grass stopper. There's this one, and then there's this one. This is the one we've been selling for decades. I started carrying this one because it's $5 more, but it's twice the strength. For my friends, I recommend this one over that one. It's got like 5 extra weeds it affects, but it's twice as strong for just a little bit. For nickel more, it's like twice as strong. It's a better, by far better product for just a little bit more money. But we carry both because that one's got the name recognition locally. For you all, pick either one, just get them down, but I kind of leaned towards this one anyway. Now I'm going to push this out of the way. You had one question too, right?
Yeah, when you say for us, mean how wide is your
range, like I'm down in Dewey.
My range is, are you in the mountains?
Dewey Humboldt.
Yeah, you're in the mountains, right? As soon as you come out of Black Canyon City, you're one of us, God's country. We are all the same. Just because you're in Prescott or Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, Dewey, we're all the same. Once you go up to Highland Pines, yeah, you're still the same. Broom Creek, you're still the same. You were just all the same. We're all the same. We're all in this thing together against the great state of Maricopa. So that's where that's a totally different zone. Everything is different. You got to erase, reboot, start over as soon as you go below 4,000 feet or so. Okay, so yeah, we're all the same. I did write 2 things I'll give to you. We'll cover all of this on the handouts, but I wrote a blog post, an article 2-3 weeks ago on the top 9 evergreens. And it's got links so you can go out and research more, that kind of stuff. If that's of interest, you can have that. And then I've got the top 10 shrubs. That's the top 10 plants. I just want, what are the top 10 fruit trees? What are the top 10 head-high shrubs? What are the top 10 evergreens? What are the top 10 privacy screens? It's not everything, but I just went, here's the most popular. And I put it in a 2-page sheet. It doesn't give you any information, just here's the list, here's the name. Research more on your own. I'll send those 2 things to you in an email form. That's okay. So if you want that, give me your name and email, and then that'll be out to you in a couple days, and just with a link going, here you go. So there'll be PDF format, so you can open up on your iPad, your desktop, whatever format you're used to reading, it'll open up for you pretty easily. Okay, so that's what I'm having for you. Yes.
Before you start on anything else, Terry would like to know if the weed killer you were talking about handles horehound.
Yes, it does handle horehound. Very good question. It's this big blue, gross, it just has a taproot that goes forever. Here's the weed and grass stoppers. They do not kill weeds. There you'll have to actually dig them out or spray them. I can show you how to do that organically if you want. But it keeps them from spreading, taken over by weed. They'll take out a small weed just starting to emerge, but once it has a real taproot, you're gonna have to kill it by hand or spray it or somehow. Okay, so you want to get it down, especially horehound. That'll take over the arena if you're not careful, and then get it down so it doesn't spread. Good question. Okay, so I broke down the evergreens here in 3 ways. I'm thinking the traditional evergreens that folks have been using for many decades. So some of your broadleaves, I did not bring a red tip Bottinia because I don't like that plant. I don't think it should be in any yard. It's just overgrown, it's not natural, has disease. I make a ton of money off of it because it's the #1 seller, but it takes a tremendous amount of food, and it gets mildew and every other disease. If there's a disease within a mile of that thing, it'll catch it. So it's hard to maintain. There's so many better choices, so I brought those. Then I brought some Southwest favorites, some of the local Western natives, where you can plant, get it going, and then you can ignore it, and it just grows by itself. And then I brought some shade loving, because not everyone has full sun. Most of us do, but there are some shadier areas, the north side of your house. If you're in the pines, Timber Ridge, Highland Pines, those areas, Broom Creek, you've got quite a bit of shade. So I brought some shade evergreens. So those 3 things. I thought I'd just go from left to right and show those off, and then we can interact. This is a small enough class, I think we can interact on it as we go. So we'll start right here. This is probably, let me use this chair. I'll use this, if you don't mind, as a display table. And I'll just use it like this. We'll wipe this down in a minute. Does that show up okay on camera?
Yeah, you're good.
So anyone know what this is? Really recognized. It's boxwood. It's just in bloom. So you've seen the flowers right here showing off. The bees have been all over this. The bees are out and they're foraging. They're very hungry. They've been hibernating all winter. They wake up, they send the male bees out going, go get us pollen, and there's nothing out there. But this one's got some, so you're seeing bees on this. But it's an evergreen that does this. You don't plant it for the bloom. You plant it just because it's green. This is midwinter. It's a great time to plant, to buy, to use, to install evergreens, because you can see what they look like this time of year, late winter. This is in the deep of the darkest, shortest days. This is what they're going to look like, green all the time. They look like this in June, green all the time. So it's a boxwood. It gets short, stays probably knee-high or lower, something like that. Depends on the variety. There's some that get up a little taller. But generally speaking, this is the one you see English gardens lined the driveways, and they hedge them down about this tall. That's just underplantings under your windows, that kind of stuff. Okay. Then there's this one, which is a bigger boy. This one we use for tall privacy. You've got a hot tub, or you want someone's looking in the bedroom, or you just want something taller. This gets up at least 6 foot head high, and it does this. This is euonymus, golden euonymus. I carry this in gold, in a cream color called silver. And then it also comes in almost a green color. This is not really the same thing, but it sort of grows exactly the same way, only green. This is wax leaf privet. So you got euonymus and privet. Both of these have a really fragrant flower. You'll smell them, very, very sweet smelling. You don't really see the flowers, you smell them more than you see them. So you're really getting this great foliage, thick, full, 6 foot high type of hedge. They appreciate being pruned. In fact, they'll get thicker as you cut them. So usually I'll fertilize them real heavy, get them up to size that I want, and then I'll start cutting them. Don't let them grow anymore, and then they just start to fill in. They get real thick. So that's kind of a trick if you're doing hedges. So, all right. Then we'll go down to, let's see, animals. They do not eat. Are animals even a problem? Deer, javelina, that kind of stuff? Yeah, we're in the forest, aren't we? So boxwood, they will not bother. It looks delicious, but they don't eat it. Waxy privet, they don't bother. Privets, so you're okay with that. They love euonymus. Don't plant that one if you've got deer or have a protected area, so they'll tend to nibble on that one. It could probably appreciate that. It'll probably get thicker because it grows so fast that it'll probably be okay for me to eat some. But I'll try to mention that as we go through these, let you know which ones are less prone to be eaten. This is one I think every yard should have some. Oops. This is Manzanita, or heavenly bamboo. Comes in several models. The domestica, the regular one your grandparents grew, it gets tall. So that's heavenly bamboo. It's not really a bamboo, but it has these stalks that look like bamboo. And so we're starting to dwarf some of these. This is a Gulf Stream Manzanita, and it only gets about this tall, it's ball shaped. So far less maintenance. If you want something shorter, this is the one. You can plant a regular domestica, but you'll be cutting on that thing every 2-3 months to keep it down to size that you want. Why do that to yourself when you just plant one that's already dwarfed? It's just done by rootstock. You just put it on a smaller, less aggressive rootstock, and it dwarfs the plant. So this one's evergreen. It does have a real pretty white flower that comes up that form red berries. It's very, very pretty. In the more sunny areas, this will have this bright red color. In the more shaded areas, it'll just stay green like that. So it'll go almost anywhere you want, and animals do not bother this. I mean, I want to add some ranch dressing and just have a little bit. So it looks so delicious, but it's got some sort of sap defense that it uses where it tastes bad. See, so Manzanita, or heavenly bamboo. Here is an aggressive one. I've used this. So we raised our family on a farm in Skull Valley. So we had greenhouses. I mean, this is commercial growing operation. And we're heating everything by propane. This huge propane tank, not just small like your house. We're talking commercial size. It looked like a submarine going through the backyard. Ugly, obviously. And so I planted 3 of these, 2 in front, 1 on the side that I was looking at. And within 2 years, the thing was really almost within 1 season, the thing was obliterated. So this is cotoneaster, or cotton Easter is how you spell it. This is its winter color, or purpley color to it. It holds its foliage. This thing is a 10 by 10 by 10, very aggressive, very thick shrub. It doesn't look like much now, but you put it in the ground, boom, it's going to like triple in size this year. It's going to go from here to here like this. We also call it red clusterberry cotoneaster because it has white flowers that form in clusters, and those clusters will form berries, or clusters of red berries. And they'll hold those berries right through winter. They're very, very pretty. Nothing eats this. Drought hardy, tough as nails. You can't kill it. You just can't kill this one. I mean, it's just a great little plant. Great big plant. Yes.
Does it one have thorns?
This one does not have thorns.
That's nice.
Yeah, no, it's soft. It's actually soft. It's got a thick leathery leaf to it, that's what makes it so drought hardy. Very conservative on the moisture that it uses.
Excuse me, what was that?
Yep. This is red clusterberry cotoneaster.
How wide does it get? How wide?
10 by 10 by 10. Just think as big as you can tall, as wide, it's bigger than this. It's just big. So it's too big to put in front of your house. It's too aggressive. It's more for a side property line, back corners. You want to soften up back there. Has this big swooping branch, very, very pretty. And it also hedges. If you want to hedge it, make it look formal, Dr. Seuss looking, you can do that. Okay. This is another native. This would be a companion plant to your cotoneaster. This is Elaeagnus, or silverberry. That's how you'd probably ask for it. Easier to spell silverberry than Elaeagnus. This is native, grows wild. You'll just see it in the countryside. But it mainly has a blue-gray leaf when you see it. It's got the classic Arizona kind of color to it, which can be boring. You can get too much of this blue look in your yard. And so we figured out how to variegate the leaf. So we actually figured out how to put gold around the edges, which gives it a very, I think, desirable look. So this is what's the name? Gilded Edge Silverberry is the name of this exact variety. And the reason this one's so tough, this one I have quite a bit of in my yard. I'll fertilize it, get it up to size, and I'll actually water it the first year, maybe 2. And then I take that irrigation, I bend it over, and I tape it off, and I have not watered it since. Very low care. It is a native plant. It's got a real thick leathery leaf to it. On the back side, you notice it's white. So it's got a powder to it that it loses 0 moisture on the back side of its leaf. On the front side, it covers it in wax. So it's very, very frugal when it comes to water use. Very tough. Even the driest, hottest June day, this one's happy. Gets up about head high or so. So it's top out about here, gets about like this. So, and no animals eat this. It gets 6 by 6 by 6 by 4, 6 by 5, something like that. Gets a little bit taller than wider. But animals don't eat it, naturalizes. Does a great choice. That cactus, let me talk about this so that it's going to bite me if I don't. Just get it out of the way. I brought it just because so many folks are from the Midwest. They have this romantic notion of, I just want Southwestern. They want to paint their door turquoise and have cactus, in their yard. We don't grow cactus here. You can't have it. You can't have sequoia. You can't have any of the big luxurious cacti you can't have. You can't have this one, prickly pears. This one's as close to sequoia as we can get. This is called pancake prickly pear. It actually has a trunk on it, and then it starts to form a mini bush coming out like this. Then it'll have the classic prickly pear kind of fruits on it. You'll see this growing wild and dewy, kind of 5,000 foot lower level. It just grows wild, it's everywhere. We have the other one that grows here in the higher elevations, that real low growing prickly pear. It doesn't get as structural, it's just more of a ground cover kind of thing. This one I think is a little prettier as far as the structure goes and easier to maintain. It doesn't tend to spread so much. That's this winter color though. It's evergreen, it's Southwestern, it kind of works, and it'll go through the winter for us. You can have cholla or jumping cactus. It's the other ones. That one will grow through. And there's some hedgehogs, little tiny things that grow. Those are basically the cacti you can have. Forms of this. And we'll have them all here at the garden center that are hardy enough to grow up here. So the other one that I would encourage you to grow more, think about, is this one. This is century plant, or agave is the actual name. Now be careful, you're in Arizona, so all the agaves grow in Arizona at some elevation. A lot of them are annuals up here, so those down in the desert, the great big blue agaves, one they make tequila out of. I wish we could grow that. I've tried. It's so beautiful, but it just freezes out on us. No matter how much I protect it, it freezes. So this one grows wild up on the Bradshaws. We also carry the Utah Jinsis variety. That's the one that grows up on the Grand Canyon rims. They take very cold. And then what it's famous for is about every 10, they say every 100 years, Thus the name century plant. It forms this flower that elongates. It's 10, 12, 15 foot tall. There's these great big flowers. It really is about every 10 years. If you're caring for it at all, it'll bloom more often. This is an evergreen, looks good. Be careful, I've had a big one that just bloomed for me. It was this big last year. I'm trying to figure out how to mount that so it'll stay upright. I can use it as a display around these plants. I don't know how to do that yet. But anyway, this one, I was always afraid that the grandkids would like jump into it, like feel their face or something, or the dogs. So don't put it maybe right there where guests can snack themselves. I don't know. Question? I covered already? Okay. There, I got rid of all the stickers. Now I can go down to what I wanted. We're going with the bigger ones, or the native ones first. This one you'll see growing wild. Everywhere, I mean, you just see it out in the countryside. It's a great chaparral plant. This is also related to Cotoneaster, this one. They're cousins of each other. These guys go together. Kind of see that broadleaf evergreen has a white flower, red berries again. This is called gray leaf Cotoneaster. This one is by far, it's as hardy as Manzanita, or this, it's as hardy as a yucca. It's tough. You're going to kill this by overwatering it. That's how it's going to die. You can see some of the red berries are left over from this winter. Those will drop off pretty quick. As soon as it starts to leaf out next month, March, it'll start to bloom, leaf, it'll drop those, and then it'll just be this great little, just like a 4 foot by 4 foot round, gray, tough plant. Animals don't eat. So it's truly a local native that does really, really well. Okay. And this is its winter color. Again, some plants, they don't stay green, they stay more, they turn colors of gray or purple or reds. This one has this purpley blue color to it. In the growing season, it'll have a true blue, Arizona blue-green kind of leaf to it. It's very pretty, very, very pretty. A companion to go with that, I use a lot of this. So much of our rock in our yards, we spread all that dark colored mocha rock. And it can be too much, too dark, it needs to be softened. And so whenever I'm helping you design, I'll just look at the color of your rock and I'll go, oh, so let's get some plants that contrast that. So now we can play off whatever that color. If it's gold, I'm using crushed granite or something, I'll try to pick more greens and blues. If you've got more mocha looking, darker rock, I'll try to put more yellows, golds, blues, contrast with that. So this is an old gold juniper. I've got some in my yard that I've got just this real dark backyard. I put this by my pond, because your ponds are always dark and mysterious looking. It's only 3 feet deep, but it's dark and mysterious. Well, I put this on the side, it just brings everything alive. Makes everything really bright and bold. I can't remember the last time I watered this thing. Junipers do really, really well here. We are surrounded by juniper forest. So you know all the juniper varieties are going to do really well for us. So this one happens to get up about knee high or so, and it just spreads like this. So I've got some that are probably 10 years old, maybe a little older, that are bigger than this. They're only this tall. They kind of spread out like this. Next to hillsides, driveways, there's a place for these. I just like that gold color. We've got some in greens, we've got them in blues, that have it in different heights, but junipers to fit any. Every yard needs some junipers. The only negative they get is they're noted for having allergies. If you have juniper allergies, that's not going to be this guy. This little tiny thing is going to make zero difference. First of all, we bred the pollen out of it, so we're not dealing with the males. The females don't have allergies. It's only the males that give you problems. Doesn't that surprise you? They're the ones with all the pollen. They're pollinating the rest of the females. The females are the ones that put the berries on. So now you can go through and know, oh, that's a male juniper. Well, that's a female juniper. Just by looking at, does it have berries or not? That's the secret. If you've got juniper allergies, you're surrounded by juniper forest, and it's over for you. There's no getting away, because when they explode with pollen, literally an entire mountainside, one tree can pollinate an entire mountain. It's just pollen floating through the air. And so these little tiny junipers are going to make no difference to your allergies response. But great plant for here. Okay. Then we'll go to here. Then we'll go to the shorter ones. This is a broom. And I was trying to think, is this a conifer or is it a broadleaf evergreen? And I came up with I don't know. I should research that more. Because it doesn't have a needle. It's got green spiky things, branches, but it doesn't, I guess it does have little tiny leaves on it when it does form. This one's famous for its red or yellow fragrant flowers in spring. March and April, you'll see this big green shrub gets up about anywhere from hip high to head high, different depending on the variety, and then it will be covered in these yellow flowers. You will smell it from across the parking lot. The other side of the yard, it just fills up the landscape with this wonderful fragrance. Tough as nails, again, it's where it gets its photosynthesis is the branches are actually green, picking up the sunlight. It'll have tiny leaves. Leaves are the things that perspire. They're the ones that try to regulate temperature and keep things cool. This one has very small leaves and very few of them. So it's doing most of the photosynthesis through its branches. And then it blooms. It's just a great southwestern looking kind of plant. Yeah.
How tall does that get? It looks like you cut that one back.
This one we cut back just to keep it bushy and so we can ship them here easier. So they take up too much real estate. They'll naturally be kind of spiky like this. This one gets up to about 4 foot high. Your Spanish broom, which is probably the most recognized, gets up, that's the biggest of them, gets up about 6, 7, 8 feet tall. That's the big boy.
That's called just broom.
This is also broom. Its specific name is all gold broom. There's probably 3 or 4 models here at the Garden Center right now. You can all plant these right now. This is what it looks like in winter. If you look closely, you'll actually see flower buds starting to form. You can pass that back. Those are all going to be flowers. So we can give a good example here. There. You'll just see those buds. Those are all going to be flowers. You can pass it back that way. So literally, this will have, I don't know, 1,000 flowers on it. It's crazy how pretty. You don't, yeah, go ahead and pass it back. You don't see any green. It's all just this pretty yellow gold flower to it. Very drought hardy. Now let's work this way. We'll go that way. It gets taller than wider, so that one's probably 4 by 3. I don't know. It kind of has this vase-shaped look to it. How they grow. This is silk tassel, another native. It kind of looks like emery oak or scrub oak, only it doesn't get a nut on it, so it's less trashy. Oaks are always throwing off stuff at you, needles, acorns, stuff at you. This one doesn't do that. Plant it and it just gets this all the time. It doesn't really bloom. It gets these tassels that come down about that long, really pretty tassels. It's a pretty thing when it blooms in the spring, usually about April or so. And then this is its color. It'll actually have more green to it when we come into the growing season. You won't have all the water spots. This has unfortunately been water spotted, but it's great, hardy, tough as nail, native plant for your silk tassel. Now let's go this way. Take a breather. How are we doing online?
People are still hanging in
You still
there.
there? Good. Must be entertaining, because that's the ultimate way to escape. I mean, you could get up and leave now if you wanted. I might mock you as you go, and it's dangerous. But online, you just go, I'm done, click. Or you go get coffee or whatever else. There's less commitment. This is Yugo pine. So this would be an example of a conifer, classic pine tree. It's got a needle to it. And so it's an evergreen. This is what it looks like. It gets up, about that tall, and it kind of spreads out. It gets about, I don't know, just above knee high by about this wide. Nice green to it. Goes great in pine cabins, pine forest, in a container, next to the driveway, in a pot. It'll grow in the ground. It'll go anywhere you want it to go. Tough as nails. It's tough. So pine trees do really, anything with a pine does really well here. So Yugo pine doesn't bloom. I just brought it as an example of reminder, conifer or broadleaf evergreen. There's 2 types. This is, she asked, how fast does this grow? So this is last year's growth. Pine and spruce, if you ever want to know, there's another example. If you can look at a pine or a spruce, a conifer, you can see how much it grows just by that branch or the top. That was last year's growth. You're now an expert. You're hired, you need a job, come work for me. You now know how fast things grow. But this grew a couple inches, maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches. So they're very slow growing. They're dwarfed. So they're painfully slow, but there's no maintenance once you get them up to size. There's a question over here. Yep.
I just wondered if it doesn't grow like a stalk.
No, it grows like a bush, not like a, doesn't have a central leader to it. We have some varieties that will do that are dwarf. This one tends to be more of a shrub variety. A companion with that does bloom. Oh, animals don't eat this. No animals, no animals, no animals. Basically, animals aren't going to eat most of these. This, anyone know what that is?
Rosemary.
Rosemary, yep. We have ground cover rosemary, creeping. We have upright rosemary, bush. So there's two varieties. They both grow here very, very well. This one blooms, has blue flowers, or lavender colored flowers, usually March and April. We have such a long growing season, typically they'll bloom twice for us. They'll bloom, they'll take a break, they'll come back, late summer, early fall, and be in bloom again. So animals don't eat rosemary. This is actually culinary. You could actually use this in the kitchen. But animals don't like herbs, any herbs, most of the herbs, because they don't like the smell. They don't like that fragrance. And so herbs do really, really well here. Not all of them are evergreen. There's only two herbs that are basically evergreen, rosemary and lavender are the only two that really hold their foliage through winter. This is one that is a super, yeah.
My brother gave me rosemary from California, 2 different times.
Yep.
That is a gold mine.
Yes.
So we're gonna have here water the baby one. It's right.
Yeah, so her brother gave her some rosemary from California, and it died both times. Bad brother. He just got the wrong variety. It wasn't his fault. And then she bought one from us and was thriving. Why? What's the difference? What happened? Rosemaries and lavenders have there's a lot of varieties, and not all of them will grow at high elevation. So he had more of a desert variety that wouldn't winter over. Of course, my guess is it died over the winter, not in the summer, and it just faded then. So you really want to be careful where you shop at. Shop at Waters Garden Center. Be in here. Yeah, okay, anyway. Yeah.
Do rabbits like broom? We think they do.
Generally, they'll leave them alone. If animals, we never say animal proof here. So she wanted to know, do rabbits eat the brooms? The official answer is they're resistant to animals. If animals are desperate enough, they will start eating on things that they just really detest, they really don't like. But before they starve to death, they'll start nibbling on stuff. That's what I'm guessing is going on there. Or you just have your neighbors stop feeding the rabbits. People actually feed the deer, they feed the javelina, which is totally wrong, but we're just going to talk to the neighbor. This is one you'll only find at the garden center in late winter. So we'll have this crop, and once they're gone, they're gone. This is heath. Heaths and heathers are kind of the same thing. They're high altitude meadow kind of Alpine plant. I've grown this in several of my homes. It blooms like this. It's the first one to actually bloom in the spring or late winter. Always blooms late winter. Even before forsythias, that kind of stuff. This one covered in blooms. And then it's great in that when it's done blooming, it has this great fern-looking evergreen foliage to it. I've grown this in pots in Prescott Valley. I grew it right in the ground in Skull Valley. It just grows, just really versatile on where it grows. And I've found that elk, deer, javelina, rabbits, they don't seem to bother this particular plant. It's a great plant. It comes in white, pink, and red. 3 colors.
Does it get real big?
What's that?
Does it get real big?
Oh yeah, size. It's real short, about knee-high and kind of mounds. It's a real pretty mound to it. That's why I like it in the pot. It just had this pretty form to it, and this pretty glazed pot. Just had a good look to it. So. Then it'll fall off and just turn into this green-looking foliage stuff to it. Yeah. A couple months it'll blow. Actually, it holds these buds. You're inspired as a gardener. If you just see the potential for a flower as a gardener, you're looking out and oh, look at all the buds on that. Oh, isn't that going to be? It's going to be so exciting! I can't wait. And then it starts blooming. Usually in March and April is when this particular plant blooms. Okay. Succulents. We do a lot of succulents here. They are evergreen. A lot of them are evergreen. Not all are evergreen. This is a mixture we put together. Just I planted one of these in a bowl last year. We have a great big table in our front that just looked empty. It needed something. And I've just refused to put fake flowers out. And so I planted one of these in a saucer, kind of Southwestern looking bowl. And this one plant filled the entire thing. It's now this big around, and it looks like this, only this big around now. And I hardly water it. I think I'm watering it when I remember, maybe once a month. The rain is probably helpful for it. But it's a hot, dry, on a patio, just spot. It's tough to grow things. Succulents are very good in rock gardens. They're very good in places where it's just really hard to get things to grow. Succulents do great. Yeah. Shade, not so good. Although, does it grow in shade? I had this, not this one, there's one, just the pure lime one. There's several varieties on the lower greenhouse. On the north side of my house, it got just a little bit of sun in the morning, then it would shade all the rest of the day. And what it did, it put on really long tendrils. You know how plants kind of stretch for the sun sometimes? This one stretched really nicely where it stretched. In fact, I raised the pot up. I finally got a pot on top of a pot. You mirror them down, just on a pedestal. Those tendrils, these runners kind of ran all the way to the patio. Kept going. It's really pretty. So, an evergreen. Okay, yep. Sure, good question. So her question is, do you have to bring these in for the winter? And the answer is no. It's kind of like the rosemary thing. There's a lot of succulents, and only about 20% of them are robust enough to go through winter with us. This one is hard enough. This is just winter. This is how it actually looks in my yard, outdoors, sun, rain, whatever in winter. This is how it looks, just like this.
What's that name?
So this is sedum. This variety, we call it flaming carpet. It's a mix we put together, and then we'll have the actual pure. This is two different varieties of sedum put together. We'll have individual varieties as well. Okay. No, just as this. It's evergreen, winter evergreen. Not all succulents are like that. Some succulents are annuals. Like a portulaca. That's a classic. Real pretty bright fluorescent colors. That one will not winter with us, but it's still defined as a succulent. This one actually will winter over for us. You all know what this is. Manzanita. Grows wild. It's got the classic red bark, and then the green leaves, and it's one of the few to start blooming very, very early, which the bees really like. If you're into pollinators, butterflies, bees, that kind of stuff, the butterflies are out. We're starting to see them float around. Not a lot of them, but there's a few just starting to fly around. There's a lot of bees flying around right now. They're very hungry. They've been hibernating. They're looking for, and this is one of their main food sources. They'll love that bell-shaped flower to it. Manzanita is so tough, if you kill it, it will be from overwatering. So you got a really good draining soil, but you get this. We carry 4 different varieties of Manzanita. We sell the one that Howard McNinn's, the big one, like you see here locally, but sometimes that's just too big for a lot of yards. So we sell some that are this tall, one that's this big, and a ground cover variety. So pick the size that you want, but they all have evergreen foliage, they all have the same flower, they all have the red bark to it. I was afraid it was going to hail on us. Hail in a greenhouse is never fun, because the hail hits, then it bounces, then it hits again, then it bounces, then it hits again, then it bounces, and it's like a ruckus. Rain is kind of gentle, I like that. I could go to sleep with this. How are we doing on time? Good. We're going to end up just about right on time. This is an evergreen perennial. Just thought a ground cover. Be careful with this one. This one's a weed. It can take over entire gardens. This is vinca, or periwinkle, where the name that you've heard it in other parts of the country. But it starts to bloom this time of year. Has these pretty blue flowers the size of a quarter, and just runs. The reason this plant is so insidious is it runs, and it touches the ground, puts another plant, and it runs, and just has no bounds. It's hard to keep it in control. So I like to put this one out on the outside of the garden, just out of the reach of the irrigation and care. That seems to keep it in check. Or I'll grow a lot of this in pots, in containers. Now I've got it confined. Sometimes it wants to run down and touch and go that way, but it's easier to control. I would never put this in the middle of my flower bed, which is too aggressive.
If you do any rock garden,
It blooms. Most of the year, most of the growing season, we'll have flowers on it. Yeah.
Would it work in, in the rock
I
garden?
mean, rock
It-
garden stuff, it doesn't do as much.
In a rock garden, it would be less aggressive because there's less for it to touch, so that could be a good place for it. In a rock garden, I would personally rather use this. It's a little cleaner, neater look, because rocks, you kind of want it to go through the rocks and the boulders. Whereas this one, this will do that. This one will tend to go up and over, and it just encases the rock garden. So for rock gardens, I'd probably maybe not advise this one as much, but try it, you're gardeners. I've learned never tell a gardener what they can or cannot do, because they'll prove you wrong every time. Just, you all will force it to live. This is Spanish broom. Yeah, bring the yucca, yeah. You kind of have three things that are I don't know, Southwest looking. These are our plants. They grow wild up here. So Spanish broom has a white flower on it like this. This is winter color. This is how they look in winter. So they don't die back to the ground like a perennial. This one gets a white flower right here. It gets up maybe, I don't know, knee-high, kind of ball-shaped. Very pretty, very formal looking. It just screams you put it in a courtyard, a Southwest courtyard. This is red yucca. Has a red flower that hovers above. Comes in yellow, comes in pink, kind of a salmon color, but all the foliage looks like this. Every time, if you have some of these in your yard already, and it's got a spent flower on it, you can go ahead and cut that flower off, but leave the foliage. Okay? And this is these two are cousins of each other. This is also a yucca. So we just happen to put a gold streak in it. So the name of this variety, I don't know, here we go. This is Coral Guard Adam's Needle yucca. Just gold yucca, there we go. Soft leaf yucca. We have a lot of different yuccas. And they can all be planted now and will thrive. Lastly, on this side, did I cover this one already? This is another native. You see this growing wild up in the Bradshaw, the Mingus Mountains, that area. This is Mahonia, or Oregon grape, is the common name. We have three different heights: chest high, hip high, or Reppin's ground cover type of. The native one is a ground cover variety. So they all start to bloom. I wish we could hold these things back, but they are starting to bloom now. The weather's been nice. It's going to bloom. There's just no holding it back. So the reason that they call it Oregon grape is each one of these flowers will form a little tiny berry. You can actually make jellies and jams, that kind of stuff out of it. Sometimes you'll see that. Quite honestly, you'll never get enough berries to do that with, because the birds love the berries. The robins will be all over it. They'll just love that. But this is winter color. This is another one. If it's in more sun, you'll get this burgundy color to it. If it's in more shade, it'll say green, truly green. But it's spring color, which is foliage, would be this bright green to it. So right after it's done blooming, it'll start forcing new colors out, more foliage. Animals do not like this at all. They will not bother it. The berries they'll eat, but the foliage they won't. I don't know why that is, but they just don't. It's a native. It just grows wild out there. I think they're trained. The deer just look at this and go, yeah, I've seen that. I didn't like it before. I don't like it now. Moving on. Where's the neighbor's broom? Or whatever, so. Bees, this is a pollinator, yeah, they'll be out. Right now the bees are foraging for any kind of color. Now we'll go to shade, and I think we'll wrap this thing up, okay? So here's the shade-loving varieties. I brought this one. This is a PJM rhododendron. Rhodies do really, really well here. Rhododendron are very bright, but they do need some shade. They are not going to grow out in full sun like they would in other parts of the country. So in the East Coast, Midwest, right out there in full sun, they're fine. Here, the altitude, the brightness of the sun is too much. They'll grow, they'll just scorch. The leaves will be kind of ugly. So in the shade, they're beautiful, just beautiful. So we've got some standard rhododendrons down there. They're not flowered. I brought this one not because it was the prettiest, but because it was in bloom, and I wanted to inspire some gardeners. Plus, I love the color. But the standard rhododendrons, you'll see some up in Hazley, Timber Ridge, these pine forested areas. They're standing head high and big, bushy, mounds of these beautiful evergreen foliage, and they're about to bloom. They usually bloom April, May, when their bloom cycle is, and animals don't like, they don't eat, they will not bother with rhododendrons. So, yep.
So when you say shade covering, does that mean any sunlight?
I would say no more than, they'll take some sun, but I would say no more than 4 hours at a time. So I've got some shade lovers, they're on the west side of my house, they get shade until about 2. They'll take on, you think, the hottest part of the day, but they do just fine. I find my best gardens for sun or shade are on the east side of my house. I grow my best plants on the east side. First daylight of the day, takes it in until about noon, and then it gets some protection. Our sun is more intense, so really the way I define full sun here as 6 hours or more is considered full sun for us. And then under that is considered more shade loving. That helps you get a demarcation. During the growing season, you know, midwinter, the days are just so short. No one wants to go outside. This is, you know, May, June, July, when it's really growing, 6 hours, okay?
And that's fine to 30.
This will go down, I think, to minus 20 degrees. Some crazy cold. We'll never see that kind of cold. So we're a zone 7, if you want to know zones, if you knew the area. Didn't mean to cover this, but zone 7. So as you read your tag, you'll see this is like a zone 5. Goes down to minus 20. So if you're in a zone 7, you can grow zone 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anything lower than that, you can grow. If you go above that, it doesn't have enough antifreeze within the structure of that plant to keep it actively alive through a cold cycle in the winter. So you want to stay away from, Dewey's probably more like an 8. So 19, 11, 12, stay away from those. Because those are desert plants. They're going to be growing down in Phoenix. Those are the sequoias and the desert plants. Alvarez, ficus, those kind of things. They will not want to grow over. Why did I bring this up? Oh, I know why I brought this. Here, this is a lilac. I brought it, this is a white lilac, super fragrant. But you're seeing all these buds right here, these are all flowers. So a big mistake new folks make is they'll have their gardeners come in, go clean up the yard. They start whacking on all these plants. And so if you cut this back, like to right here, you just cut off all the flowers. There's no flowers down here, they're all on the tips. So be careful when you're instructing your gardeners or your husband's out there with that new pair of shears, he just wants to go to town at it. Yeah, let's do this. Hold off on your spring bloomers. Usually with lilacs, forsythia, quince, all the spring things, we let them bloom, then we cut them back right after they're done blooming. The big mistake is they get in the cycle of pruning everything January, February, and then they wonder why their lilacs have not bloomed for them ever. Or you'll see the neighbors, the gardeners cut them all back and they only have flowers coming off the sides like this. That's because they trimmed them like this and they cut all the flowers off, then we have a few flowers left. That's why I brought this. Does not pertain at all. This is a big guy. This gets up traditional lilac size. So I've got this exact plant shading my office on the west side. It's the west side wall. Just wanted some shade there. So I let it get up to I want it to be about 7, 8 feet tall, which is perfect for what I was using it for. You can keep it down to here if you'd like, but naturally it'll go up to this tall. Yeah.
What do you recommend for soil or mulch for these vine plants?
Well, let me go over that, see if we have enough time, because I've got a separate class of just, the question was how do we install these to get the maximum growth and most beauty, right? We'll see if we've got enough time, and we may. You see how fast I can get through this. This is one you'll also find only in the spring of the year. You don't have it during the traditional growth planting season, May, June, July. This is Lily of the Valley. It's an evergreen shrub, looks like this. Needs shade. Not full shade, but it takes a surprising amount of sun. But we've got this in white. Did I bring a white one? Yeah, here we go. We've got it white, we have it in red. They're both the same shrub. This is getting up to mature size. This is a truly mature plant. It'll get a little bushier, a little wider. I find that the white one has a little bit more fragrance. I mean, it's a sweeter fragrance than even a lilac's got, a rose. It'll fill up that part of the garden. This wonderful Lily of the Valley's fragrance. The red one's just pretty. Not quite as, it's still fragrant, just Just not as fragrant as the white one. It's just pretty though. Both do really well here. No, this is a little bit different. This is so her question was, is that the same lily of the valley? Yes, genetically they are cousins. This one is the one that's more robust for the landscapes at this elevation. These will do better for you. Those actually would be annuals here. So lily of the valley is a very large family of plants again. So we're just trying to cherry pick off the more robust ones. So a couple more here. Let's see, we got 4 more. This is holly, like East Coast holly. This is called scallywag. It's actually I brought it. It actually doesn't have as pretty a flower and the red berries as the other traditional varieties, but the foliage is magnificent. The structure of the actual plant is good. This one I would say keep it out of that midday June sun. You're golden. It'll grow really, really well. Hollies will take an amazing amount of sun, just not too much. That midday summer is a bit much for them here. Whereas in the East Coast, Midwest, they encourage you read the tag, it says grows in full sun. Not here. So just be aware, okay? This one is the same as the pink one, wherever that was. There we go. These are the same thing. You already took notes on this. There's a white one. There you go. 2 more and then we're done with this. Then we'll try to cover, I keep seeing more and more. Here we go. This one is yew. This is winter color, Y-U-W, yew. It's a conifer. It actually has needles on it, so it's actually considered a conifer, like a pine tree or a spruce. It does get a white flower. You're seeing the flowers now, and these will turn into red berries that are very, very pretty. Like a big, red, soft berry to it. So, really you're planting for this foliage and the red berries. That's the striking feature of this. I've got some of these on the north side of my house that I've got a stark wall, like 2-story stucco wall. Ugly as all get out. And what am I going to do with this albatross? Oh my gosh. So I put a piece of art there. The middle wall, uplit it. I put 2 of these on either side to kind of frame it. Now these have grown 2 stories tall. And they're magnificent. It's like a highlight of my entire backyard. Unfortunately, it's kind of obscure for you. You're going to want to get there. But you come in or out of my backyard, you got to go past the views and the art. Very, very, very good plant to do it. And this is actually what they look like in midwinter. This is their winter color. This one is for you Californians. This has been in bloom for 6 weeks now. It's been in bloom for a long time. And you can see it's got more buds to go. It's still opening. This is camellia. So again, camellia is a very large family of plants. There's only one variety that will grow at this altitude. And that's this one, Ice Princess Camellia. Comes in white, kind of an apple blossom, and a red, pink, whatever color that is. With Evergreen, I've grown this right in Skull Valley at the farm. I had it as an underplanting around the patio. And the elk would roam through, deer would go by, and they would never bother this. So I had a whole hedge of it, just like trimmed it down to like right here. This is a nice formal hedge at bloom. Great evergreens underneath the trees. So I find that it does better with a little bit of protection from that midday sun. It's more of a shade-loving plant. So no more than 4 hours, 5 hours of sun during the growing season. Camellia. And lastly, that is your traditional rhododendron. So again, evergreen, that's just winter color. These are all the flowers, the same flower buds. So that'll be in bloom probably mid-March, I'm guessing. Depends on the weather. But through April, first part of May, those are in bloom. The rhodies will do really well. Yeah.
Kind of snowfall here, but did you find that, since we're, sometimes places a lot of snow.
Yeah.
Blanket them and cover them and stuff like that. I never really had an experience with either of them, exactly how it's involved. Do you find that, are they just more hardy because of the weather, or do you find it more?
She comes from snow country where they just get buried by snow. And they suffered some or had more struggles with them.
Yeah, they just kind of break a little bit.
Yeah, they could break if you had too much snow on them. What I find is, welcome to God's country. We don't get that kind of snow. It's just not why we live. We get some snow, and then it melts within just a couple days, and it takes that weight off. So my U's, I mentioned that, I've got 2-story U's. That last snow we had was at 6-7 inches in my house. It started to light on the foliage, and it started to bend down and just kind of laid on the ground. That day I went out and just took a broom to it and popped right back up, and I was going, okay, sorry about that. I'm looking good now, sorry, okay, here we go. I'm looking good. So I took the weight off. Sometimes you can do that with some plants, junipers, Arizona cypress. Sometimes they'll lay down because they get so much weight on them. That's why we encourage you to stake trees, especially evergreens for the first year. Just put 2 stakes on them so that if we do, or when we get, not if, when we get a heavy snow, it doesn't just kind of like fall over. You break all those new roots. Keep them up for a year, the roots get out there, and they start to solidify, they start to get more robust, they keep the plant upright. It's not to keep it the wind issue, that's more for shade trees, it's mainly for the snow load through the winter. Okay, yeah. So she's looking up, doing research. That's great. I love it. But the research online is too confusing. Imagine that. It's coming at you so fast and furious. There's a rhododendron and an azalea. What's the difference between the two? Because they kind of look sort of the same. Rhododendrons are a unique class of plants unto themselves. They are not an azalea, although they're companion plants to each other. They like to grow in the same environment, but they are 2 totally different kinds of plants. So, but azalea, if you can grow a rhodie, you can grow an azalea. That's why we love to see your technology coming in. So you bring a phone, take a picture. I'm not looking at your house, your shingle colors. I'm not looking at any of that. I'm looking at what plants do you have there now, and I'm looking at shadows. That's all I'm looking at on the screen. So I want to know, oh, it's growing there now. She or he likes that kind of plant. Oh, got it. They like those already. What's a companion plant that grows with that? I'm trying to match things. And if this thing grows here, so will this thing. So I'm just taking all the knowledge I have in my head, which is scattered, and I just hone it into your backyard. And I'm looking at heat, reflective heat, that kind of off a wall. There's certain things that the designer's trying to help you, and all of us that's what we're looking at when we look at your piece of phone. And please, be fast. I don't want to see your cruise to wherever. It's just some of the pictures I see are like I'm there for 5 minutes. As you scroll through, if you can, just find it ahead of time so we can get to the next person. We're coming in right now. It's winter. We got time. Starting March, April, May, we're stacked up 5 deep with people just waiting in line to ask questions, and we want to help them all as best we can. We have great signage and stuff, but okay, enough of my complaining. How do you plant this thing? Let's go over that real quick. I think I can do that in 5 minutes or less. When you plant, no matter what size it is, do not go very deep. You're only going as deep as the root ball. Roots do not go down. That's a myth. There is no tap root. There is a tap root, but it goes sideways, like this. So we go down, so roots are going to grow sideways out like this, because that's where the moisture, that's where the food, that's when it rains in the monsoon, that's when it can pick up the most moisture. So if you know that's how these native plants, big junipers, it's a 20-foot juniper. Look at the roots, they're only 50 feet down, but they're as wide as the juniper. So if you know that's how they're actually going to grow, encourage a hole that way. So you go same depth, twice the width, a bucket on each side, come around. That's the size of the hole. Much easier to dig a shallow hole shallow and wide than it is a deep hole. And then your soil is crummy. You're going to need to amend it. So you won't find a worm. You're not going to find anything living in that soil, which is a problem. That's not good. And so if you dig in there and you see a bunch of worms coming out, you go, oh, this is going to be a good plant. It's so easy. Rarely are we going to see that in most of our gardens. So what brings in the living organisms, the mycorrhizal fungi and beneficials? Organic matter. So we encourage adding about 25% mulch to your native earth. Okay? So you dig your hole, you got this pile of dirt there. How about 1 shovel of mulch for 3 shovels of soil? Okay, and blend that together. Use that to backfill. That does several things. It encourages the beneficials to start activating. And then also, it keeps the soil from compacting back down so the roots can get through it. So and that's kind of how you do it. Pack it down so there's no air pockets. When I get done, I will fertilize it with the all-purpose plant food that I mentioned before. I'll sprinkle some of that on there because there's no food in your soil already. Then I'll water it in when I'm all done with this root and grow. This is a product we make it steeped. It's a compost tea, basically. It's going to really activate those organics, and it helps it transplant shock. This is like open heart surgery and brain surgery at the same time. When you pull this plant out of this, the only home it's ever known to put it in your yard, that is pretty hard on the plant. This helps to stabilize that and activates all those organics in the surrounding soil. I'll do this about every 2 weeks. Right away, I'll have it mixed up before I even get started. So it's 3 tablespoons in a gallon. On the way there, I'll water it in. And I'll do it about every 2 weeks until I see the plant stabilize. And you'll know, you see new growth coming out, there's something blown. Go, oh, it took. Then I'll cut it off with this and just move on. And the fertilizer's doing its work. And that's how you plant this whole root and grow. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I've got 2 brand new raised garden beds.
Yeah.
Just soil.
Yeah.
What should I be doing now to get them raised?
So he's got actually raised beds. He's cheating. He's not using. He abandoned his entire yard and put in raised beds. Love it. My entire yard is like raised beds. It's like tiered laid beds all the way down the bottom. What should you do to be getting ready to plant? So you've got soil already. It was probably used last year. If it is, you'll want to get rid of some of those old roots, that kind of stuff. Filter that stuff out. Soil does get used up. So you actually notice the soil will disappear. I don't know where it goes. It doesn't blow away. The plants are actually physically taking it in and using it as nutrient. And so you need to top dress that every season. You need to add some organic matter. Manure is number 1, or just compost. We call it premium mulch. Add a 2-inch layer to that every year. While I'm doing that, so I've already done this to my garden, so a 2-inch layer, I'm just quoting the book here. 2-inch layer, I'll add my fertilizer on top of that. For me, I'm growing vegetables in those raised beds, so I want to add some vegetable food, what I would do. And then I'll add some calcium, so calcium nitrate, because I'm trying to front load calcium, because I don't want blossom end rot. It's such a problem here. And so those 2 things, calcium, the fruit, vegetable food, the mulch, till that to 1 shovel's depth, and I'm ready to go plant. And you can start planting the leafy stuff right now. So kale, spinach, broccoli, cabbage, all the leafy things. You can start planting now. Wait on the tomatoes, things that form a fruit, wait on those. The locals use Mother's Day as the demarcation line for planting summer. That's the summer plant. So we'll have frost until about Mother's Day. The 100-year average, specifically here in Prescott, Arizona, with this right here, May 8. Prescott Valley, I think, is May 5. Dewey is probably May 1. We're all the same. Basically, look for Mother's Day. If you're planting before that, you need to protect it or be on the lookout right away, because frost will take out a tomato like that. It just obliterates them. So that's kind of how I prep your soil for raised bed. Out in the gardens, I do the same thing. Just if you got garden beds out there, do the same thing. 2-inch layer, put your food, your other minerals in, and you can start planting. So great question. With that, I'll hang out, because I know some of you do. This is an active group, I like it. If I didn't get your questions, I'll just be up here answering questions. But before you go, the old actor in me just requires you to clap for me. So just, hey, thanks for coming, guys. Yeah.